Oh, yeah, baby. We're back. We back.
We are finally back with another week of football. Once again, this is Seminoles Sideline 365. My name is KB. I am alongside Bruce. We are back on a Wednesday because we cannot compete with Thursday night football. So yeah, that is our new day of the week, but it works out because we have Friday night football in Kentucky, which we're all excited about. Before we get started, we want to thank everyone for joining us live tonight. If you can't make it live, be sure to subscribe, get alerts for when this is recorded. You can watch it anytime, or feel free to like the video. Like I said, subscribe to us on Google, Apple. Let me do the pitch. Let me get my pitch out before you start interrupting, please. Thank you. We appreciate you being here, but if you can't make it live, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, catch us when you can. We know you're busy, so we appreciate y'all's time being here. Every like counts on the video, and even comments, we appreciate everything. Now, Bruce, what were you going to add onto that?
Well, I just wanted to say, even if you don't like it, just hit it. It's free. We don't charge. We don't do that. So just hit it anyways. And by the way, I'm in the wine cellar again. I'm on the road in Tampa. Rainy Tampa. Very humid and rainy Tampa. Okay, that's too bad we didn't have Louisville come down here Friday night because the humidity was like 80%. It's 90 degrees. So.
True. But tonight we got a packed show. So tonight we're going to be doing a little week 3 preview show. We're going to be talking to some special guests who have insider knowledge on Louisville and what's going on with the program there. So we're going to be discussing with them the upcoming matchup this weekend, or should I say Friday, in a couple of days here, which we're all excited about. And then after that, we'll be going through some trending news across the world of college football, which I know I personally enjoy. You may not, but we'll get into it to summarize the show. But we have our special guests here, Devin and Spencer. So I'm going to bring them in here in just a moment, and we'll start breaking down this matchup. But before we go into it, and before I bring them in, just to remind everybody of our projections, because before we started the show a couple of weeks ago, or before we kicked off the season, we did a projection of what we thought how the season would go. I'm putting up on the screen here. This was my projected record, just to remind everybody. So far, I'm 3-0, or I'm 2-0. I had Duquesne, LSU as wins.
Well, the greens are wins.
Typically, green is good. Green is good. So, okay. But I had Duquesne and LSU as wins. I had this upcoming weekend as a win. I still do. Nothing has changed for me, no matter the injuries on our offensive line. I still believe that this weekend is a win, and we'll get more into detail with that. But as we look at Bruce's projected record, he is still at 1-1 right now, with him projecting LSU being a loss, which is sad.
Which it almost was. It almost was.
It indeed almost was. So
it came down to a blocked extra point. So I wasn't too far off.
He's one game off the mark, but we both had this weekend as a win. But we'll bring our guests in because we want to get their insight. We enjoy having them. So I'm going to bring in Spencer and Devin onto the show here. Guys, how is it going tonight?
Going good. How are you?
Good. Bruce, why don't you introduce our guests here?
Yeah, let me bring in Spencer Laws and Devin Wasson, correct? Did I get the name right,
sir.
Guys? And you guys are sports journalists for the Louisville Cardinal, which is a on-campus newspaper, but it's more of a University of Louisville independent student news source. Is that correct?
Yes, sir. So we run under we're affiliated with the university, and it's just through all of us here on campus. We're all students here, and we just like to write and trying to get our names out there.
Well, that's great. That's great. And listen, guys, I know we're starting off friendly. It's going to get real ugly before this is done. And you don't have to call me sir, because KB's already trying to replace me. Like Lee Corso, they're moving him out.
We don't need to go down that road.
Pat McAfee, he's trying to move me out. That's not going to happen, fellas. But we're glad you're here.
Thanks for having us, guys.
Yeah, no, we're excited to have you on the show, and I'll kick it off. I'll kick it off with a question here for you all. So far, I don't think the Louisville season has gone how you guys may have imagined. The offense hasn't been there as of yet for Louisville. With Malik, we all know Malik is Malik Cunningham. If anyone's new to the Louisville program, I think most of us know who they are and what they do in the ACC, and how pretty dynamic they were last year. I don't think that they've gone off. Y'all have gone off to the start that you guys thought you would be this year, with a rough game against Syracuse, and Syracuse looks like they may be a surprise team this year. That's a whole other topic.
I agree,
but a tough game there, and then the UCF game, which, no offense, was just hard to watch at points. But it was entertaining nonetheless. So far, Malik hasn't scored a touchdown, right? With 2 interceptions on the year. What is the feeling with the fan base? You guys are in it. You guys are reporting on campus. What is the feeling so far of? Is this just a rut he's in? Is there regression? He's in his final year of eligibility. What is the general feeling with Malik? And is this the weekend they believe he's going to break out of it?
It's kind of KB here. We're sitting, and I mean, we laid an egg here at Syracuse, and there was nothing good about it. So that's just a wash in general. Yeah. But we turned it around and shocked a lot of people last Friday. And but yeah, Malik really hasn't had the start of the season, and a lot of us, Louisville people, considered him a very dark horse in the Heisman candidacy. Yeah. But yeah, he hasn't thrown a touchdown yet. I think it's just a matter of time. Marshawn Ford and Amari Huggins-Bruce are the only 2 receivers he got back from last year that have really played significant time. And they have picked it up. Marshawn dropped a couple passes last week, but kind of getting on the same page as D. Wiggins and Tyler Hudson. Tyler Hudson had a big game against UCF, but I hope it's just a matter of time and he can get one this weekend. I mean, his legs are always going to be there, and we saw it last Friday that he was able to run, and he had over 120 yards and a TD on the ground. So I hope it's just a matter of time, and I guess we'll see going forward with especially Friday night.
And I agree. I think that something that's lost on a lot of people, I guess, is although we were favored against Syracuse, it was only by like 3.5 points. It only opened up. Yep. Vegas didn't trust us to win to win that game, and of course we didn't. And then we were dogs going into Orlando to play UCF, and we won that game. And something Satterfield talked about after the Syracuse game was that we weren't letting Malik be Malik. We weren't running him as much as he could. Maybe before week 1, they were trying to tell him to stay in the pocket, preserve himself. And then after the Syracuse game, it became apparent that Louisville football cannot win that way. Yeah. Malik has to play with as much free reign as he can, regardless of what you want him to do. If he misses a read or 2, fine, you'll take that as long as he can play that backyard style of football and run around and score touchdowns with his legs. I think that's what makes him the most dangerous in the ACC.
Well, let me follow up. Let me follow up on that. Do you think the coaching staff there at Louisville coming into this year was trying to develop Malik for the next level? Okay, for the professional level, by saying, you've got to put on tape that you can deliver the ball down the field. Now, the pro style they're looking for is a guy that can be maneuverable. Okay, the Tom Brady style is leaving the straight drop back. They want mobility, but they also want to see you can deliver the ball down the field, or you're going to have a lot of unhappy receivers on your team. So could that have gone into what they were thinking the first 2 games?
Go ahead.
I think we look back at the Syracuse game, and there was a couple times you can kind of see he's hesitant to run, and he gets a little too far back in his drop back. And then there's 2 or 3 times where he should have stepped up and threw the ball, but he's got a little pressure off the edge that he's used to running around, and it kind of was. You could see that he was hesitant on what he wanted to do there. But I think you're right on that sense.
Yeah, and perhaps the coaching staff bought into a little bit of the off-season hype, where a couple of mock drafts had him as a first rounder. And like Spencer mentioned earlier, he was a dark horse favorite for the Heisman. And it got a lot of coverage on the ACC network and even on ESPN. So you buy into that, and you're like, for Malik's sake, we've got to show that he can do A, B, and C, and he can work inside the pocket and get through progressions. But at the end of the day, when your job's on the line and when you're paid to win football games, you've got to find a way to do that, regardless of Malik's future and what happens with him in the NFL. And there's 10 weeks where he can still prove himself to be a quarterback at the next level. I don't think we need to overreact to anything just yet, but I definitely think, regardless of how this season goes, he may get looks in the draft. You saw like Jordan Love, his last season in college, his statistics were poor. They were very pedestrian, mediocre. However, he was drafted off of his junior year level of football. His team got worse. He didn't have nearly as much help. But NFL teams saw what he had done his junior year, and they trusted that, and the Packers ended up taking him. But maybe you see that with Malik. Who knows? I think at this point, you have to just play football to win, and whatever happens, happens.
So one of the things that may happen Friday night is I'm Florida State. I'm going to try to contain Malik. I'm going to try to reduce his running ability, and I'm going to make him throw the football down the field. So we may be able to help him try to produce something on the field. The question is, can he do that effectively? Because right now in the first 2 games of the season, he hasn't shown that ability. So if I'm a defensive coordinator, I am definitely going to produce that.
You see on that, Bruce, and UCF on Friday, UCF had a spy on him.
Yeah.
And he still got 120 yards and a rushing touchdown. It's going to be tough. And I've said this before, but if you can get one of them going, obviously the other one's going to open up. So that's his best case and his formula to get us a win here and for the rest of the season.
Yeah. I agree with Spencer. And whatever you put on schematically in defense, I mean, sometimes it is Jimmy's and Joe's and not X's and O's. You still have to tackle Malik in open space, and that is tough. If he gets to where he's improvising and running around and going crazy and running people over and spin moves, and he's most of the time one of the most athletic players on the field, if not the most athletic. So you still have to bring him to the ground, which maybe in the game plan you think you might be able to put the guys in front of him, but they still have to make the plays.
Yeah, not to cut KB out here, but what we worry about with Jordan Travis is the same thing. You know, he's a running quarterback who has learned now to stay in the pocket and deliver the ball, but to make runs when he has to make those runs. But the question, when a quarterback starts running, you risk injury. We basically don't have anybody with any experience behind him.
Neither do we.
You guys?
So the biggest, one of the biggest battles positionally coming into the season was the second string quarterback. That's what a lot of media was paying attention to. And now I think it's between Evan Conley and who else?
Brock Domeyer.
Brock Domeyer. I mean, sorry, we're blanking here, but
it's kind of like our situation.
Yeah, if Malik goes down, I mean, look out. That's obviously not going to be a good situation. And I agree with you, Bruce. You want to do everything you can to keep him healthy, but with coming into a game like FSU on a Friday night, you have to open it up. You can't say, oh, well, we're so much better than this team, we can keep him back. Louisville does not have that. There's not a game left on the schedule where Louisville can, maybe USF next week. But there's not a game left on the schedule where Louisville's going to be favored by more than 5 points, and then obviously the games that they're going to be underdogs. So you have to go out and play every game as well as your team can possibly do it.
Absolutely. And going back, and we're focusing on the Louisville offense, which I think is going to be a big deal on Friday night's matchup. With being able, with Cunningham and the ability for him to run, I think the way he's able to pass the ball and stay in the pocket is if you have a reliable run game. And one of the strengths of the Florida State defense is the run. What we hope to be is the run stoppage, so the big guys in the middle. Fabian Lovitz, Trench Monster. We have those guys in the middle, and then we have Jared Verse on the edge. So we're hoping that in the middle we can stop the run and then allow pressure on the outside. Through 2 games with Louisville, the run game, the natural run game, I should say, of Evans and them has kind of showed flashes, but against UCF, I think it was like 3.9 yards per carry. Didn't really get humming. You had the most of the running coming from Cunningham. Do you guys see the Louisville running game as it has potential to be great, or is it something that's it has been a struggle? Where do you evaluate that, as well as the offensive line so far?
You kind of look and kind of throw your hands up at some of the play calls here from Satterfield. In Syracuse, we kind of shot ourselves in the foot in a lot of sense of running the ball and, second and longs and putting us in third and long situations because it's not solid and that should be a passing down.
Yeah.
But no, you mentioned Tylen Evans. Tylen Evans has the ability to do whatever he wants in the sense he could run through the tackles and he can make people miss in the flats on the outside in the open field.
Mm-hmm.
But you kind of look at that, you know, we had a lot of preseason buzz in our offensive line with Caleb Chandler and some other people. And like I said already, that we laid an egg and they played pretty terrible in week 1 at Syracuse, which everyone did. But it's what we kind of want to do here. And like a lot of people are telling or making noise to have Satterfield, you know, kind of jump off the play calling and let Lance Taylor do his thing, kind of show what he got coming from Notre Dame and stuff.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's wishy-washy on how it's going to be game to game so far, and you all have seen that.
Yeah, the most noise you hear coming out of coming in Louisville media and from just watching a football game with your buddies is like, holy cow, we are predictable. First down, here comes stretch right, or it's a stretch play to the left. Like, poor Tyon Evans is like, dang, man, like I'm getting the ball where everyone in the stadium is going, here we go. Like, here's where the football is coming.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of times it's up to him to make a play, make something out of nothing. And you would like to see the offense get a little more open with the running game. I know that sounds weird, maybe like an oxymoron, but just do a couple different things, show a couple different looks, a couple different counters on first down, perhaps draw plays. But yeah, that's what we're looking at least.
So we have a question came in from the chat, which still on this topic here, but goes into play calling, what you're talking about. Eric Nelson asks, how long do you think Scott Satterfield's leash is? How much longer until this all is going to fall on him if Louisville continues to sputter, struggle?
Is he a Scott Frost?
No, I don't think that. I have
won a bowl game.
Yeah, I have a couple. I'm relatively close with the program, and Satterfield is a very, very, very hard worker. And I don't
hard
think,
work doesn't always equal results. I've learned that.
Exactly. Some of the things you're hearing out of the Scott Frost camp are like wasn't showing up to practice on time, wasn't taking recruiting visits. Satterfield's never going to do that. I think what he's missing was, especially in the past few years, is getting the guys. And obviously this next recruiting class is great, but getting the guys in, and then schematically, people have always had questions about his defensive coordinator and his play calling. But as long as his leash is, going into last week, I think it was against UCF. It was a legitimate make or break game for him.
Really? Okay.
His job was he was on as hot as his seat has been since he's here. And I think coming into this week, if Louisville loses this game, he's right back on that hot seat.
Yep.
However, if they win, you're looking at USF next at home, where the fans are going to be back invested after an ACC win. You're 2-1 staring down a cupcake. That would be great for the program, and he may turn things around. And if he has enough time, if he gets through this season, his players that talent gets a lot better, and you may be looking at a long-term Louisville coach.
This is very interesting game, obviously for us from both sides, but even the fans who don't realize it. After the win over LSU, we got the win. It wasn't pretty at points, and we almost lost. But a couple of the players were saying, we're back. We're back.
I hate that. I hate
the question is, what does that mean? That we're back. We win one game by a block kick. And some of our viewers may say, they start to chime, well, you guys are negative. Well, I'm not negative. I'm just being real.
It's awful.
The reality is you're not back to you're consistently showing a trend forward.
You're not back until you win at least 6 games. How about we start there? Let's start with 6 games, and then we can talk about maybe
I said
around
game 7. Around game 7, we'll know. But my point is, this Friday night is a huge game for Florida State for the We're Back program. If we lose this game, then the coaching 101 language starts. That's what I call it. Now, you guys are there. I don't know if do you get down to the practices or you get to the pressers maybe, and the coaches are giving you the 101 language. They all go to the same class. And a lot of guys are afraid to ask important questions.
And I think to that point, a question comes in from Cole about how important is this to recruiting. I think you guys just spoke to it too. This game really does put one or the other coach back on the hot seat. Florida State's coming off the buzz of LSU, basically playing on a road game in New Orleans, beating LSU, Brian Kelly.
And we're back.
He's a dick.
Yeah.
Everyone hates him, but we beat them.
Yeah.
So it's a feel good story, right? It's a
Yeah.
Disney feel good story. But then you come back to reality, and if you lose to Louisville on the road, given they're 1-1, Mike Norvell, if he goes 0-3 against Satterfield, that's a horrible look.
I agree.
That's really bad. Especially if you're talking about being back in the cultures here.
If Florida State,
it's a recruiting killer for Florida State.
If Florida State is back, okay, and the players are sounding that off, because this came from the players, it didn't came from the fans. It came from a couple players after the game. We're back. They didn't use the word baby, but they said we're back. If we lose this game, it's going to raise questions because not to be rude, fellas, Louisville is ripe to get beat on the road by a Florida State team that if we're back, we should go in there. I have us winning this game by 7. I know the spread's like 2.5 or something like that.
Yes.
By at least 7 points. I think the game will be close. I really think the game will be close. Mm-hmm. But Florida State must win this game or there's going to open up huge questions for us. I think bigger questions than it will for you guys.
I think I can agree, and I'll speak to this, and I'll let Spencer go ahead. But I know that Tallahassee media can be a little volatile, and obviously it's a huge program and a big job, and every fan expects to win a bunch of games every year. And if Florida State were to fall this Friday, I think a lot of media and fans are going to look back and say, "Well, we only beat a sloppy LSU team who is looks pretty bad, and we lost to a Louisville team who lost to Syracuse. We might only win 2 games." That I can see that overreaction happening. And obviously that puts pressure on a athletic director and a coaching staff to perhaps make a change.
Yeah. I think kind of going back on the other points, I grew up a Louisville fan, kind of watched them and everything. You look at through my childhood, I was spoiled to watch the teams of that we had. And I came off of, Brian Brom was, when I was really young and stuff, but I go from Brom to Teddy Bridgewater to Lamar and now to Malik. There's been a couple quarterbacks we can sprinkle in there that still have done great things and won ball games and such, but I've been spoiled in that sense, and we have set the standard over the last couple of years of where we want to be. It wasn't 6 years ago we were fighting for a college football playoff spot, and now look at us. You kind of see. We lost the head coach out of that and some other the dumpster fire that was 2018. But we have a standard, and Louisville football is pretty critical. And we're underrated on a national standpoint to where we think we should be at and how we should be rated in different things.
Hell, you guys had Jordan Travis first, so you guys could have had him.
Right? Him. Pierce Clarkson on deck. He's coming in next year, who's highly touted and one of the top quarterbacks in that class, and we want to keep going.
Imagine that alternate reality, though. If Jordan Travis doesn't come to Florida State, Mike Norvell doesn't have a job anymore. He has had, this man has carried this program on his back for the last 2 years just with his playmaking ability alone, just to give us the 3-5 wins, just with what he's been able to do. So that could be a whole nother segment of what we if this doesn't happen, what happened? But I think it's amazing. Yeah.
How is, besides Malik running the football a lot, how many carries do you think he'll get Friday night? Not planned, but he'll rush the football.
I would expect him to get the ball to at least 15 times. He takes the ball tucked across the line of scrimmage. To
win the game. How many yards rushing does Louisville have to have, including his yards?
250.
250 may be high. I think we might need to get over 2 bills though. I think if we're over 2 bills, I would feel comfortable winning the game, being able to control the clock, keep Jordan Travis off the field. That's a huge piece of the game. But running the ball effectively would make me a lot more comfortable.
Do you think he's going to, Zach asked, do you think he's going to have a Heisman-like game like Lamar did in 2016? Do you forecast that?
I'm not predicting that.
The people are asking this, so I have to ask the question. That's what the people are asking. Do you predict that to happen? Or
we've said this. He needs to have a big game for us to have a shot here. Our offense rides upon how he does. You see that in Syracuse and everything else. We're
100%
kind of beating a dead horse in that sense on how we've explained it. But
yeah, and if Florida State was to contain Malik, who's the other person that has to step up? Someone else, like who is the other person who can step up on this team? Is if he's fully contained, he throws for 150 yards, only rushes for 85. Does Louisville automatically lose, or do you think there's anyone else rushing wide? Like, could they get anything else going? Is there anyone else who can step up on this team that could?
If that were his stat line, and you told me Louisville won the football game, I would expect a special team score, or a defensive score. I think if he is contained maybe and only throws for 150, rushes for under 100, I would expect Tyon Evans to get the rock a lot. Okay. I think he's very, very good, and I think he's shown that he, at least in practice and what's coming around from the coaching staff, that he's a elite level running back. He's at the top of the ACC.
Do you think the Louisville offensive line can block Jared Verse, or do you think you expect like them to try to double or work around him?
I'm not. I would. Some coaches come out and say, "Oh, we're going to run right at him, and we're gonna make him tired, and we're going to deliver it that way." I don't expect that. I can't speak for what the exact plan would be schematically, but I would imagine starting the game, seeing if he can beat the Louisville offensive line in one-on-one situations. And if he can't, you always have that backup plan that you've worked on, sure. Okay, if this guy does dominate, here's double team looks. Here's how we're going to play him.
This game, guys, could come down to a kick in reality. 2.5-point spread could come down to
I know, the worst way. The worst way.
Here it comes. Here's what I'm going to ask you. It could come down to a kick. Okay. Special teams wise, how's your special teams field goals specifically?
There's a lot of people around the program that do not believe our starting kicker should be our starting kicker. I'll put it that way. He missed the field goal against UCF, correct? And a pretty simple field goal. And we've seen from the Florida State defense that they have the ability to go after some field goals. Yep. And I don't necessarily like the looks of that. So if it comes down to a kick, I hope we're not the ones kicking the ball.
Because the rumor came out of camp this week that they spotted something on your special teams. Now, whether that's true or whether that's to get inside your heads,
mind games.
Mind games is to make you spend more time there. Who knows? But this game could come down to that kick. And, I think it could go either way. I don't think we're solid. I think our guy is pretty good, but he hasn't been tested in that last second game walk-off type situation.
I'd rather us block a kick than make a kick. That's how I prefer it to go.
Did he spot the same thing in the LSU game? Is that what it was?
Yeah.
I hope
that was definitely tough. One question KB hates for me. What's the weather going to be? Have you looked at the weather? He hates it. I'm the weather guy. Because
unless it's looking like Chicago in the rain, I don't care.
What's the weather going to be Friday night?
Spencer's got it right here.
Friday, we got a low of 62 and a high of 87, and it's sunny all day. So we'll be good. We'll be good here in the Ville.
Perfect. That's perfect
weather to play some football.
It's great tailgating weather.
I was going to say.
I'm not worried about the game, but that tailgate's going to be perfect.
Someone has a great question in here while we're on the kicking game. Which kicker would you rather have, Rodrigo Blankenship or Louisville's kicker?
That's the Colts fan. Yeah, he can answer that question.
A lot of these are Louisville questions, so I knew you guys would appreciate it.
Probably Rodrigo because he's got a bigger leg than James Turner. But either way, Rodrigo just got waived, so he's looking for a job. I don't think he can come.
If he's got a year of eligibility left, we can see what's going to happen.
Yeah. And to Shane, who asked about Deion taking over, come back in 11 weeks and we'll readdress your question to see if Deion's going to be taken over or not.
Well, I'll say
come back in 4 weeks.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we'll know a lot sooner.
Let me give a reply to that, though, and then you guys can give your reply in a serious manner, too. And that is on Deion. Deion is not going to be satisfied to spend his career at the FCS level, in my opinion. Deion could make the jump postseason, right? Postseason, when there are multiple openings. He's kind of proven that he can do some recruiting, but he is not going to stay at that level. That's my opinion. What do you guys think?
I agree with you. I think that I believe too it's worth taking a chance on Dion. Maybe not at Florida State's level, but I think we'll see him get. I think he's also waiting in the wings at Jackson State, a place where he's happy with, comfortable with. Barstool Sports is doing a documentary on them.
Yeah,
he's getting a bunch of media coverage for the FCS level.
Yeah.
So I believe he's going to wait on the right job, and maybe perhaps that is FSU. But I think he's going to wait on the right job and only enter a situation where he knows he can recruit and he knows he can win. And I think it makes sense. He's proven. People were skeptical on him at the start, myself included, like coming out from no coordinator experience and just jumping into a head coaching role. And he's done pretty dang well at that level.
Yeah, I think it would be nuts if, like, we don't know what's going to happen with Nebraska, but if some coach, like, imagine like if Lane Kiffin's like, I can go to a bigger school and get more money out of Nebraska. I don't see that, but people have kind of floated that out there. If Ole Miss opens up and Dion's like, and they're like, take a chance on Dion, like they took a chance kind of on Lane, like a personality like that in Mississippi, like not that far of a move, right? And that recruiting ground in the SEC, something crazy like that could happen, rapidly, right? So I think it'll be a fun journey. And Patrick, for what I'm drinking on tonight, I'm drinking proper 12. Gotta keep it classy around here. So
Conor McGregor.
Yeah, exactly. It goes down smooth. I like it.
Yeah.
And I had to drink some bourbon when we're playing Louisville, right? So
that's right.
And it's Irish.
It's not
Irish.
It's not proper bourbon, right?
Yeah.
It's not proper bourbon.
Some Kentuckians listening to that just had a freak out.
Just unsubscribe, stop, like,
don't you guys have a bourbon distillery tour or something like that?
The Bourbon Trail.
The Bourbon Trail.
Bourbon Trail.
If you do want to do some tourism in Kentucky one day, that's a great thing to do, especially if you love bourbon.
I love one of my favorites is Angel's Envy, and I know that's right downtown. You guys have a shop right there downtown, so I love that.
Yeah, KB's drunk most of our shows. It hurts the ratings.
To watch First State all the time. So flipping it to the other side of the ball, our offense versus y'all's defense. Once again, it comes down through all the offense runs through Jordan Travis. It looks like he's progressed a bit. Like he's staying more in the pocket through 2 games. He's looking down the field, making his progressions. What is y'all's general feeling? What's what you've seen so far? How do you think he'll play? Like, do you think you'll be able to try to contain him? And B, do you think what you've seen, do you think he's progressed as a passer? And do you think they have to try to account for that more than they had to maybe last season?
Well, to stop you, like, before that question about, Jordan Travis and anything, if he can hand the ball off, and if Florida State gets the ball rolling, running it, then we're going to be in trouble if we can't stop the run.
Yes.
We've shown that in the first 2 games. We showed that in the first half of UCF, and obviously, and again, we come to the Syracuse game. And I think UCF had like 5.5 yards per attempt per carry. In that game, and he won't really have to do a whole lot if you all can do that. So
I agree. The thing I noticed in the first game against LSU, I watched that game fully. I could not handle the Duquesne game. I'm sorry, guys. I didn't do my research.
Hey, they're powerful. Don't worry. What are you talking about?
I watched the LSU game, and man, that game was sloppy, in my opinion, from a completely unbiased perspective on multiple different levels. And that was a tough environment to play in. Week 1, you open up, and it's crazy. Or was that week 0? It was week 0. Yeah.
LSU was week 1.
Yeah. Wild way to open up. So I'm not ready to draw any conclusions, but I think what Spencer was alluding to when it comes to our defense, most of the stuff you hear around town is schematically we are poor. And you hear that
to be blunt.
For a long time, for a few years.
What does that mean? What does that mean, Devin? Does that mean schematically the strategy is bad? The players are good, but the strategy is bad.
Okay.
Yes. Okay. So what I'm referring to is Brian Brown has been the DC at Louisville as long as Satterfield has been here, and especially in Satterfield's first few years when there was still a lot of hype around him, and people thought maybe he would leave Louisville for even a better job because he turned a 2-win program to a 7-win program just like that with essentially the same players. And Brian Brown, the games he lost in that game were where he had to score. He would have had to have scored 57 points to win because our defense was giving up so many points. And that's consistently been an issue. Brian Brown's still on the staff. A lot of people have pointed to Satterfield and said, hey, maybe get rid of this guy and save your job, and he hasn't. So I think that's what I'm alluding to. A lot of people, if you want to get really in depth, when you're talking about a 3-man front, we don't necessarily recruit the guys for that. We're a little undersized. A lot of people have pointed to this would work great in the Sun Belt, but you're not there anymore. Yeah.
Well, they're tough. That's a tough.
Yeah, they're tough. They had a good weekend.
Looks really tough now.
Yeah.
They had a good weekend. You guys are giving up 208 yards on the ground, 2 games. It's hard. Stats don't at that point really mean a lot, but you can bet the offensive strategy for Florida State is going to try to run the ball.
Well, I think it's interesting that's both at the quarterback position and John Rise ran pretty well against y'all too. He was averaging almost 5 yards a clip, right? Yeah. He could barely throw the ball, but he could run the ball pretty well. Yeah. So I thought that was interesting too. So I to your point, I think there's going to be an opening there if we run our offense effectively and we don't just toss it and fumble it at the goal line. There's going to be the opportunity for play, I think there will be that opportunity because I do think we probably have some of the most talented running backs in the ACC. It's just, what is the play calling? How does that play calling work? And is our offensive line solid today? Because I think that's a big question with our bases. Is our offensive line going to show up today? It's gone so much better than 2 years ago. We brought in, we have 3 transfers on the line this year. So transfer portal has been very kind to us with Atkins bringing those guys in, but it's, which offensive line is going to step up. So with that, how's the defensive line, with that question, I guess people are running all over you with the schematics. So, do you see, can this team, Louisville team, improve week over week? Or do you think it's unless we get a new DC and totally rip out the defensive playbook, it's just going to be what it is this season?
We, to start off here, we just are starting nose tackle, Jermaine Lowell. Went out with an elbow injury. He's done for the season, which was that was part of the offseason buzz that we got. He came from Arizona State and he was talked about being one of the next, I'm not going to say legendary anyway. That's very high above. A good product on the field. I mean, we've had some guys that that have performed very well on our defensive line, and he was kind of Sheldon Rankins and other things in that area. But they were kind of talking about him of showing signs of being like him, not being as good as him in different areas. But
sure,
he's gone. But to give our defense a little credit, they did perform pretty well in the second half.
Half of that UCF game was a completely different story. The defense played great.
We had 10 consecutive stops and shut them out, and that's somewhat offense.
Brownlee just got a ball thrown to him. A free pick thrown to him too.
Here's what Florida State media is saying on that. They say the UCF quarterback Plumlee, after a few drives, looked like crap, and he's not a good quarterback.
He played receiver. He played receiver at Ole Miss. He was a receiver.
I know. You sound like our guys, man. That's what they were saying. They say they didn't really see a real quarterback.
I agree, and I agree with that. But the book on Louisville's defense for the last 4 years has been line up in front of them. You can point to the gap it's going in and tell them to stop it. We saw that a couple last year, or the last 2 Kentucky games, where it's holy cow, man, they're just running all over us.
Well, after the Duquesne game, and we had 3 running backs get over 100 yards apiece, which means nothing against Duquesne. You should get that. Should have got 150 yards, And then, the media had it hyped up, the 3-headed running back monster. And then we went into LSU. That was a different take, okay, because
it's one of the better defensive lines.
But it didn't happen. I think they want that to reemerge on Friday night. They're going to run that ball hard at you guys, and they're going to try to do the play action off of that run and catch you sleeping and bringing people up to stop the run. So I think it's going to be fascinating to watch.
Yeah.
It's obviously no secret that we can't stop the run. UCF came out and their 2 touchdowns were scored in Wildcat. It is our weakness, and that's how it's going to be until we can step up and say, no, you can't run the ball on us anymore.
Are you guys going to use man-to-man on the outside, you think, majority of the time?
Probably not. We love to stick in a zone.
How are you going to stop the run, though, if we're really running the ball, getting 4 or 5 yards a clip? How are you going to – you got to bring more guys up into the box and leave some guys out on the island, right?
I agree. I think the you've seen a lot where Louisville's a little slow to make adjustments on the defensive side of the ball, and they love to stick with what they have been doing, what they've learned. And especially if you talk about FSU athletes, the idea of going man-to-man doesn't sound particularly pleasing to us. So I know that's what you would hope, but I mean, I predict a shootout on Friday.
Yeah. I think, like you said, the athlete equation is going to come into it because, as you guys probably know, Florida State essentially overhauled the wide receiver group because it really did nothing last year. Or there was just no consistent playmaker in the group. And now you have 6'7" Johnny Wilson, 6'4". You got Micah Pittman, who's a true slot receiver. You got a Deuce-Span, 6'4", like I said, true athlete who can do end arounds and really. So I think, like you said, if we can get you all into one-on-one matchups, you're going to stack the box. There's going to be a lot of maneuvering, like you said, based on what the offense is showing you, what is working, what's not working. So I think it will come down to who coaches the better game, like who is able to execute and coach a better ball game, like kind of what we saw in the LSU game. I think there was a lot of strategic play calls. Some worked out, some didn't. But at the end of it, the calls paid off and we won the game there. So I think it'll be a great coaching battle. And whoever can honestly make the least amount of mistakes too, I think will come away with this, because I expect it to be, around the 2 points. I do believe they'll be within a touchdown.
I think the over and under is like 52 or 54 points.
56, I think. I looked
56.
Yeah, they scored 59 combined last year, so I see that happening.
Norvell's he's dropped the ball the last 2 years, you alluded to earlier. When you all came to town in, was it 2020? We had a COVID, stadium where it was like 12,000 people capacity or whatever. And Jordan Travis struggled left and right. I think he completed 14 of 32. And then you all brought in our old buddy, Chubba Purdy. That was once. And he went 0 for 9. And I remember it because I was watching there.
Now at Nebraska.
Yeah.
It's gone bad for him. Chubba Purdy went 0 for 9, and he performed as the worst quarterback in Cardinal Stadium ever, which is hilarious, and his whole character development and whatever.
Now I'm going to defend those quarterbacks just a little bit, because our offensive line, if it's average now or average plus now, was well below average that year, years before, against every team. I mean,
last year
it was horrible.
Last year you had to play against Mackenzie Milton, who was a robot.
Our offensive line, listen, our offensive line hasn't been very good for several years, and it's been a rebuilding process. If you look at our offensive line, a lot of the guys we have playing, a couple of them got hurt, are all portal guys that just came in. And so a lot of our guys, we have been very lucky in the portal. I don't know about you guys, but we have gone after. Have you guys, I told KB, I looked at our football operations directory the other day, and I was reading off all the positions in terms of personnel recruitment, personnel high school recruitment, director of operations, director of this, player development. It's an NFL type of style now. So we've got guys who are looking nothing more than the portal, trying to identify guys, and I'm not, who knows what goes on behind the scenes, but guys jump in the portal, the next thing they're at your school. There are things going on that make that like free agency.
Yeah.
Pretty much. And if you don't play in the portal as a team these days to rebuild your team each year, you're missing out.
Yeah, you see that, especially with teams who, if you can't win every recruiting battle, similarly to Louisville, that's something that now you have to lean on. And I think Spencer's about to talk about it. When it comes to the NIL stuff, you get into a lot of weird scenarios. I really like the NIL, but I believe that if you have the NIL and it's done properly, you should reinstate the sit out a year for the transfer rule. I think a lot of people are jumping ship as soon as they can to get a playing spot, to get a little money in the NIL, and it's really fishy now. Yeah.
You look at, Bruce, you talk about the transfer portal, and the NIL is the name of the game now in any circumstances, whether you're a newcomer, you're freshman, or if you're going to be a fifth-year senior coming over. I guess you can look at our 2023 class and say that we're ahead of the curve in a lot of recruiting standpoints with the NIL or whatever you want to touch base on that. But you kind of see that. I mean, we got a couple of guys in our, like Brian Hudson is an in-state guy, And he went to Virginia Tech, and now he's here. And I mean, we could. I mean, our middle linebacker Momo, he's a transfer. I mean, Tyon Evans is a transfer. I mean, we could keep going. I mean, Jarvis Brownlee, your all's old buddy, is a transfer. Yeah, y'all can take Greedy Vance.
Yeah, I know we traded.
I want to say that we won that trade. I don't know about you all.
Yeah. Hey, Brownlee had to leave basically after the Jacksonville
State. Hey, I mean, he just won. He got that interception last week.
I don't think that was I don't think that counted. Actually, I think he was out of that. But that, like you said, he sealed.
I'm not going to argue it, but it's what happened on the. Yeah. I'm not going to say I'm not agreeing with you, as we all sat here in the living room and screamed that was not an interception.
Well, I'm eager to see if they're going to go after Brownlee a little bit. I'm eager to see that.
Him and Amarian, I think, will be interesting. That him and Cooper are going to have an interesting matchup. Both veterans who've been around the program. I think you'll see some one-on-one matchups there.
And Brownlee came out this week. I'm sure you all saw it and said he's been circling this game for since he came here and stuff. And which, why not? I mean, we talked about Jordan Travis and how he was ours, and now we got Brownlee. Y'all have Greedy Vance, and Jarrett Jackson's another guy. That came. I mean, Travis and Jarrett came from that 2018 team that was. I alluded to the dumpster fire of our lifetime, and I mean of Louisville football. Yeah. But two guys that kind of got caught up in it. And I mean, I like Malik, but Jordan also is another good guy to have in your back pocket and to kind of push that. And I would love to have Jarrett right now, but he doesn't really fit in our scheme in a sense, but he's too big.
Yeah.
Great. But yeah.
Well, to put a bow on this, we talked offense, defense, all those things. Let's get your all's final analysis and prediction for the game. I think I know which way you're going to go. But we talk both sides of the ball.
I have no idea where they're going to go.
I think we expect a lot of offense. Is it fair to say? I think both teams are going to be able to score a good amount of points and hit that 59 mark. At whether it be through defensive turnovers to points or offense, people are going to move the ball. What is y'all final prediction for the game, and what do you want to say there?
I think it's going to be a great game. Kind of with us moving in the ACC in 2014, there's been nothing but great matchups between the two of us. It doesn't matter if we're like you all have Jameis Winston and we have it's been awesome between the two of us. And this is kind of for me as a fan that's been a game I always look forward to. And it's always like when we go down to you all and you all come up here, it's awesome. It's one of our biggest games of the year for sure.
Yeah.
I can't go specific with what's going to happen. I think it's going to be tight, and I hope it's tight. I hope it's a fun day. I mean, it's our home opener. Cardinal Stadium's going to be packed.
Yeah.
There's a lot of noise and buzz around campus right now. The student body's ready to get after it and get into the tailgate lots and get into Cardinal Stadium. And we hit it at the right time with kind of losing the fan base to Syracuse and yeah, sure. Losing the fan base to Syracuse and bringing us back into UCF. But I mean, I hope it's within 3 points. I mean, I think it'd be awesome to see a field goal go our way. I mean,
I'd rather be blown out by 49 points than lose off a field goal.
Hey, fellas, if we lose, you need to turn into our post-game reaction with KB. He can't even.
There'll be a lot of drinks involved with that game. Yeah, a lot of drinks. So come by for that one.
I'll offer a more specific prediction here.
Yeah, he sounded like he went to the coaching 101 there, Spencer.
Spencer didn't want to mention it, but what that fellow that commented was referring to was Spencer was an all-state kicker in high school.
Yeah, I thought there was some connection.
Yeah, most of the time he has a hard time closing the yearbook, so I'm surprised that he mentioned it. But I see a high-scoring matchup, and I think if the offense is comfortable with their game plan, the defense can kind of sag back a little bit, and you can say, hey, no big chunk plays. If they run the ball against us, great. Make them do it 45 times. Yeah. Make them do it 45 times without fumbling. And then maybe if we get ahead of them, they freak out. They've got to throw the ball. I like Louisville to score a bunch of points. And my final prediction would be 30-27 Louisville on a game-winning field goal that breaks KB's heart.
I know. Please, God, no. Please don't let that happen. Wow. Like I said, blow us out by 45, but not a kick. 45, but not a kick.
I got to ask him then, KB, you can give your result. All right. You guys aren't afraid to say you're going to lose, right? I mean, that's not immediate. You're not. Are you afraid to get the trolls and all the people? We call ourselves no sugar here.
I came out before Syracuse did something similar like this. And I mean, I was pretty hyped and excited about the season. And obviously Syracuse has been awful these past years. And I screamed about how Malik Cunningham's gonna do this and do that, and then I had to sit there for 4 quarters and watch that disaster. So that's why I'm a little more reserved now, and I've kind of seen that. So I don't know. We're not Satterfield lovers here.
Yeah, that's true.
That we're very critical upon the coaching staff all across the board, because when we have big time games and have a lot of time to prepare for them, we drop the ball and don't show up. And so that's kind of how we look at it in that sense. And I mean, we go to the university, we want them to succeed in every which way. I mean, it'll be fun to go to a bowl game. We've kind of been in a slump here athletic wise. I mean, the University of Louisville had it rolling in 2013. We won a basketball national championship, won a Sugar Bowl. The women's went to the Final Four. I mean, the list goes on. I'm missing a couple. Baseball went to the College World Series. We called it the year of the Cardinal. We competed at the highest level of every sport. I'm sure there's a field hockey and a soccer that I'm missing on different standpoints, but that's how we kind of look at it. And we're kind of sad. We don't have that we're back mentality like your all's players do, because we're not at the level we want to be.
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people miss on this Louisville football program is we're 5-6 years removed from where every season there was an expectation of a New Year's Six Bowl, BCS Bowl, whatever it may be. I mean, how many 10-win teams were there? There was an Orange Bowl. There was a Sugar Bowl.
Liberty all the way back then.
Yeah. Liberty against, when it was a 10-8 matchup against Boise State. I mean, this is a program, this is a city where you can absolutely be a top 10 team, and it's been proven a bunch. Yeah. So there's high expectations, but as far as not being afraid to say they're going to lose, I just don't think I'm sold on Florida State quite yet.
Well, not playing Alabama.
That's fair.
Yeah. That LSU team is not very good, in my opinion. They struggled last year. They got blown out by 1,000 to Kentucky. They're not the same LSU that was 5-6 years ago, 3 years ago, especially. I'm not quite. I'm not. That's a funny comment.
That's very true. Yes.
I'm not quite sold on Florida State just yet, and that's why I lean towards Louisville in this matchup.
Is football secondary basketball still there?
Let me stop you right there, Bruce. It's Louisville, man.
Louisville.
I gotta say,
Louisville.
It's Louisville.
Louisville.
I had to wait the whole interview.
And I'm not drinking. Is basketball number one, and that's a problem for recruiting?
No.
I don't know if that's necessarily a problem. No, I think this program's proven a few times you can coexist. Absolutely, you can coexist as a football and a basketball school. It's not a problem that those guys down the road are having.
I was going to say,
they beat those Gators out. They beat those Gators, brother. That was great.
They did. I'm sure you guys enjoyed that.
Oh, I did. KB?
Yeah, I'll give my opinion here. I think the game's gonna be, like y'all said, is gonna be close. I really think it's gonna come down to who can, convince the least amount of turnovers. But if Florida State can control the time possession like they've done the last couple of weeks, they really controlled the ball with LSU. They almost had 35 minutes of time of possession. They really didn't allow Jaden to get into a rhythm at all. Their offense to get into a rhythm.
He did rush for 100-something yards.
But a lot of that was towards that end of the game. They went 99 yards the last game. The game. Before that, it was they weren't doing anything.
I just had to say it.
Yeah, trust me, I was having a heart attack. But I think it really comes down to the time of possession. We really converted well on third down against LSU. It was unbelievable. I've never seen us convert on third down like that. So I believe if we can basically stifle the offense by keeping LSU off the field as much as possible to limit their drives, and then get them to commit one or two turnovers, we win the game. And we win. That was like the Syracuse playbook, right? They kept the ball for 32 minutes, got you all the commits, a couple of turnovers, and even with 18 penalties, they won the game. Yeah. I don't know how you win with 18 penalties, but they dominated the game.
The first
time it's happened in a very long time,
50 years or something.
But controlling the ball, forcing some turnovers, those things can limit a great offense. So I think we'll be able to do that by running the ball, controlling the line of scrimmage, and then critical throws in big situations with Micah and Amarion. I think we'll be able to get the job done. I think we'll win by 7 on the road in a tough environment. And I do believe that this is Mike Norvell's sort of job on the line, because after this game, and then right next to the BC game, right after that game, you go into the toughest part of your schedule. So I think he knows he has to win this game. They will be mentally prepared. And I know that's BS stuff to say. They're going to be mentally prepared. But I think 7 points, they win the game to get out with a win on a tough Friday night, and you move on from there. Bruce?
All right. I've got one last question before these guys go.
Yeah, we got to go.
And I said, I put it out on Twitter. I put it out on Twitter as a secret that you guys are going to bring. Who the hell is going to win the Kentucky Derby? What's the horse?
Bob Baffert. He's back.
This is
Sakel. Our roommate is a
huge horse race. He's sitting on the couch right now. Who's going to win the Kentucky Derby? Who do you like?
Going into it right now?
Right now.
Damon's Mound.
Damon's Mound. You heard it here first.
Damon's Mound. Okay.
All right.
That's where I'm going to put my money down.
Well, someone else asked the question earlier, Spencer. Is it Daytona 500 or the Kentucky Derby?
I'm a big race fan, so that's why they're throwing this at me. I don't know. I haven't been to the 500 yet. The Kentucky Derby is if you all need to come if you haven't been yet. The buzz around the city is insane. You wake up and it's straight alcohol down your throat. There's just, and I mean it screams bourbon, KB. You'd love it.
Absolutely. And I know who to bet for now. I know who to bet on. Which
exactly.
So what was the horse's name again for everybody?
Damon's Mound.
Damon's Mound, yeah.
Damon's Mound.
And that came from our roommate Andrew. He's a huge horse racing guy.
So if you lose your mortgage money, go find him. He'll be in an apartment. We won't say.
Hey, no, I lost it all in the Syracuse game.
Yeah, exactly. Boy, we appreciate
not
you guys
actually, Mom. Not actually.
Hey, we appreciate you guys.
Bruce, did you give your prediction?
Huh? I gave it earlier. I got Florida State by 7.
By 7. All right. So both
Let me put my head on. Florida State by 7.
Well, Spencer and Devin.
Are we doing this after too? Are we gonna?
Yeah. Can we join after? Only if you will win.
Well, no. If Louisville loses, you can absolutely join the post-game reaction. Guys.
Yeah.
Definitely. I'll send you a link.
Yeah.
You can come in at any point in time.
Please.
Awesome.
You guys are welcome. You guys are welcome anytime for any reason. Seriously.
No,
if it's going to be a wild game, you're welcome to join us. And
absolutely, we'll be hosting right after. So if you guys want to join us, win or lose, feel free to come on and we can talk. But I expect a great game, and thank you both for taking the time to be with us. We appreciate it.
Before you kick us out, I just want to say, hey, go Cards, North up. Thanks to all of our guys that have been listening. We got a lot of our hometown people here. We've sent the link out to come out.
That's great.
Absolutely.
I'm
thank
Spencer,
you all.
He's Devin, and
thank you guys so much.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you guys.
Keep trending. You're welcome back anytime, guys, including Friday night.
Okay. Go Cards.
Okay,
go
guys.
Cards.
Take care, y'all.
Bye-bye.
And thank you again to Spencer Devin. I have their Twitter handles in the bar below, so please go ahead and give them a follow. Devin with an A and Spencer is
great guys.
_A_laws. Great guys, as you can tell. A lot of insight into the program. And they have.
But they need an old guy. They need an old guy. They need a Corso type like me.
I barely need you, so I don't think they need you yet. So, but no, thank you guys again for stopping by, Louisville fans. We appreciate the insights and the comments. You guys are great. So we said, you guys always give us a great game. We're really looking forward to it.
But it shouldn't be a great game this year.
Florida State's never.
I'm tired. No, listen to me. Now listen for a minute. This team, right? Everybody's chanting. Now I'm hearing on FSU media, different sites.
Well, we got a listener question. We got a listener question. Would you take FSU minus 2.5 on Friday?
Would
I take that spread? Yeah, are you taking that spread?
I would take it. I think they're going to win by 7.
I tend to agree with that. I do think it's going to be they're going to take the spread. And thank you, Patrick, and everyone for coming by. Jordan, Connor, everyone
we
who commented.
Appreciate all your fans
guys
coming through. Yeah,
and Don, this isn't legal betting advice, but we're taking the 2.5 points. We think it's going to be a 7-point game over here. I think it's going to be an offensive.
I think Jordan Travis has taken control.
And he didn't play last year.
Offense.
He didn't play last year. We had the statue, the robot. So I think we're going to have more of a chance.
Jordan Travis has taken control of this offense.
Yeah.
And we don't do sugar here. If I didn't think, I know it's going to be a close game. We can't blow out anybody this season. Yeah. And we won't blow out anybody. There's possibility we could get blown out, but we won't blow out anybody.
Yeah, there's always that tipping point where we could get blown out just suddenly. Like
we could just be having a bad game.
It could.
But I think Jordan Travis has taken the next step, and I think he is ready for this game. This isn't one of the big 4 games that I have on my calendar. The LSU game was a national type game. I don't give a shit how bad LSU was or wasn't. We needed to get over that hurdle. That was a marquee game. The Miami, Florida, and Clemson are the 4 games. I said we have to get 2 out of the 4 for Coach Norvell to proceed forward with, quote, the continued growth program. Okay. Now, this game is on my calendar as a must win because we should win this game if you're having the continued development. There's a lot of questions. I don't want to hear, well, you got to do this, you got to do that. I mean, he's not going to lose his job over this game. He's not going to lose his job the whole season. At the end of the season, like any employee, you get evaluated. We're not going to make a change in the middle of the season. That's not going to be a Scott Frost moment, period.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I think one clip I forgot to share during the stream with them is that I think we're going to be seeing kind of like what I believe UCF was doing with a QB spy. But this will be, I think, when the make or break. Kalen DeLoach is going to be the make or break, just like he did with Jaden Daniels last week or 2 weeks ago. This play right here is what I think is going to be the make or break. Just like he did with Jaden Daniels, the ability for Kalen to spy the quarterback and be able to mark him and control him is going to be what makes it break.
Stop it right there. Here's the deal with your spy. Now, in practice, Travis Jay crossed over to the scout team and was playing the part of Malik Cunningham.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Why? Because Travis Jay used to be a quarterback who could run and pass and has the speed and the agility and the quickness of a Malik Cunningham. Yeah. But you're not Malik Cunningham, okay? But it gives the guys a chance to try to corral one of these type of guys. And this is not the only running quarterback we're going to see this year.
But Travis Jay was a former quarterback too, so he does.
I said that. But he's still not Malik Cunningham.
No,
but a shout out to Travis Jay for helping out on that side of the ball, and that's a team guy for doing that. Yeah, it's a team guy for doing that.
Kalen and whoever, if they put Tatum, it's going to have to be able to spy the quarterback.
Well, you have to be able to get to the quarterback. Spying the quarterback is one thing, but finish the tackle. You have taking the right angles and getting to the guy is another thing.
Absolutely. So I mean, it's already been a long show. I think,
I think Malik is going to get his big runs in. The question is, does he get too many of them in?
Yeah, you're not going to hold him to 50 yards. No. It's just not going to happen. No. He's going to get his 100 yards,
but that means if he's running, then the other backs were ineffective, and he's back there trying to throw the ball when he's running. Absolutely. His mindset was like Jordan Travis last season, and that was, I like to run, and I'm afraid to throw the ball. Malik Cunningham is in that frame of mind. Yeah. Travis is now willing to stay there, take the hit, and deliver the ball at the last second.
Yeah, absolutely. And as Tyler just said, hasn't seen Louisville's defense get stopped like they did versus UCF since 2013. So, maybe we'll be surprised and they'll really start to shut down Florida State's offense. But I think it'll be.
I don't think that's going to be the case. They're still giving up on both games, Syracuse and UCF. They're still giving up an average over 200 yards.
They didn't give up a lot of points though.
Okay.
No.
They're giving up 22 and a half points a game.
That's not a ton of points.
Okay, but if we get 35 and they get 22,
but Florida State could not finish in the red zone against LSU. That was a concern. So
this team, I don't think Louisville is as good as LSU's talent on the field, even though it's disorganized. I don't think that the LSU team is well put together at this point. I think they will get it together, but Louisville's defense and their front seven, I don't think are as good as LSU's were.
Like I said,
we'll find out Friday night.
It's 2 games of the season. I don't think any of these teams have a proper identity yet. You know, you see App State beating Texas A&M. You see Notre Dame losing the mark. Like, no team, I don't think, has a true identity. We don't know what the final product of these teams is until we get to game 4 or 5. We don't know what these teams have yet. We know what the talent is. We know what the game plans are. We know who they should be. But I don't think we really know who Florida State is yet. And I don't think we really know.
Well, we're going to find out Friday night.
Hell, Syracuse looks like the next Wake Forest of the ACC.
We're going to find out more. We don't care about all them. What we care about.
Yeah, I care about Louisville. That's what I'm saying. We don't know who they are.
What does Florida State look like? If we are, quote, back.
Not back. Stop saying that.
Wait a minute. I didn't say that.
All these sites,
wait a minute. I didn't say that.
I know, but
the fan media didn't say it. It came out of players. I'm not going to name the players.
And Norvell shut it down. He shut it down.
Well, he said we're back. Well, that was an emotional outburst by the players, because to be back, you have to be consistent. You have to be winning consistently.
You need to get to a bowl game.
You have to. Well, we'll get to a bowl game. I said, if we get to a bowl game, then he keeps his job. 6 or 7 wins. Some of the FSU media are talking, 9 or 10 wins. Those people don't know what the hell they're talking about. And some of those people are charging premium subscriptions to their sites. Okay.
We don't need to go down there.
You know, we don't need to go down there. But if we get to 7 wins, that's a good season.
Yeah.
That's reality. I don't live in a world of fantasy. Okay. I've been around this program since the 60s. I know people, God, he's an old man. What the hell does he know? I know what's good and what isn't good. Okay? That's the thing here. Now, you talked about the weekend. A weekend we thought was going to be soft and not really entertaining. Oh, my God. Salute out to the Sun Belt. Isn't it the Sun Belt Conference? I don't even know who the hell they are.
So we wrapped up the summary. We're going into news now, if anybody's watching. We've wrapped up the Louisville summary.
Yeah. Okay.
7 points, Florida State. Watch it. Come back for the post-game reaction right after. So join us on Friday night and come back for that, because we will have a post-game reaction.
Earthquakes week 2. Earthquakes week 2. What was your earthquake of week 2?
I think it, and I'll pull up kind of my little article here. It was, like you just said, was the dumpster fire that was these
it was great.
Big comp with the Power 5. I loved it. Like you said, the Sun Belt looked like they could beat the ACC. I compared. Is the Sun Belt better than the Pac-12? I mean, could they? The Sun Belt looked like the most dominant Power 5 conference last weekend.
Well, I think what it shows is this. That these teams can go forward because they've got players who buy in. They've got players that were not recruited. They got players that didn't have that many stars.
That's not okay. That's not
on
true.
Their name.
No, I don't.
Well, what I'm saying is, but App State has beaten people before.
They're good.
They're well coached, and that game against Texas A&M. Well, first of all, I don't like Jimbo Fisher, even though he brought us a national championship. Okay, and some winning years. They embarrassed Jimbo Fisher. Jimbo Fisher has pressure to respond this weekend against a tougher team. So that will be interesting.
Who the hell signed off on Texas A&M paying App State $1 million to come in? App State's been
the athletic director. Somebody did.
$1 million? Like teams like FAMU who travel to UNC aren't getting $1 million to go and play.
I'll tell you what. It's going to be hard for App State to get some of these games anymore.
I don't even know how they got that one.
Because they will beat you.
Yes, exactly. That was a very winnable game for them.
They will beat you. The other great game was Marshall Notre Dame.
That was.
Now, the Notre Dame head coach, new guy, you talk about heat. He's definitely got some heat. They play California this weekend out there.
If it was that interesting game, he's fired. But
then Nebraska, Georgia Southern.
For a second. Stay on Marshall for a second. To your point where you said these are teams that don't get the 5 stars, true. But the transfer portal has really started, I believe, to even the playing field between the mid-tier Power 5 schools and these lower level, others. because now the guys, some 5-star players who don't either break the depth chart, don't get playing time, academically don't qualify for a year, they kind of leave, go get guaranteed playing time at Marshall or App State, or so now these smaller schools are getting an infusion of talent that they normally wouldn't get. Kalen LeBourne, former 5-star top 50 player at Florida State, goes to Marshall. He was driving Uber last year. He got kicked out of Florida State,
and over
went to JUCO, was driving Uber, got recruited to Marshall. Now he's running for 160 yards per game. Like this is how the transfer portal has started to balance out talent, from like shaking it down from the top schools down to the lower schools and starting to even out. So these games are going to get a lot tougher when you schedule them. And I think it's actually a good thing that now these guys can go other places, get new opportunities.
Well, it's like the NFL. It's the NFL model we're developing here into the college ranks, and it's like free agency in effect. That's Absolutely. What it is. And I agree with you. It gives first of all, it gives players a chance to play. Players want to play.
They should.
They want to play, and they're not going to sit there. We're going to lose some guys next season. We'll lose some guys,
and we'll gain some guys, and
we'll gain some guys. But we now have in the football operations people who are constantly watching who's going where, and the potential to this guy, DJ Williams. Isn't he still in the portal? I think, DJ. But who was the other running back from Florida State that had big yards, over 100 yards?
Anthony Grant.
The
other big game.
Yeah, he had a big game. So I thought
DJ Williams had a great game.
Yeah, it was an interesting weekend. Yeah. Interesting weekend. Then the Gators lost to Kentucky. That was great. That was a great game. Yeah, but it exposed Anthony Richardson after the first game against Utah. They thought he was going to be a Heisman Trophy. They exposed him. He's a big guy who can run, but he makes bad decisions.
They exposed the media. The media overhyped him after one game.
Well, our media overhyped certain things.
The guy couldn't throw last year either when he played sparingly. Like it's not the kid's fault, but he couldn't throw last year consistently. He looks like he can't could throw consistently this year. He's a great athlete. Like he's going to be a good player, but he's not a first-round NFL draft pick. Like I don't know. That's why I hate ESPN, the media, when they hype these kids out after 1 week.
But this is what media does. Now we're going a little bit lengthy tonight. We're going a little bit long because we could talk sports all night long. Okay, we could the guys we had on Devin and.
Remember,
I'm losing my mind.
You got it. Spencer.
Spencer and Devin.
And if you haven't followed them already, give them a follow.
No, give them a follow. These guys were great. They're going to be future superstars, man. I hope they have their own show and they're doing a great job. They really have great knowledge of what's going on. Did a great job, and we appreciate them, all their followers that came on. We learned a lot. You have to get everybody's other perspective. Some of the media shows don't get the other perspective,
it's great
and
to hear.
They made some great points. But, the last thing I have in my book here, in my notes, I had multiple notes, looking forward. I'm looking forward to seeing the Miami Texas A&M game. That is going to tell us a lot about Miami too.
Yeah.
And their quarterback and their
tweeted
quarterback.
Something that was dumb.
What?
Okay, I want everyone to know I didn't tweet out that go ACC, Texas A&M loses.
Yeah, I did.
No, I don't get it. We're not the SEC where we cheer for other schools to win in the ACC. That's stupid. That's dumb.
It was my opinion on it.
I know, but it's a dumb opinion. We don't cheer for Miami to win. If it was at all possible, I wish both schools could lose. Or the game just gets
I hope the ACC wins over SECs.
I don't care.
And I said if you read my tweet carefully, it said
I did,
and I still dislike Miami. That's what the tweet said. So
I'd rather Miami lose.
Really?
Why does Miami win help us?
It helps the conference.
Does it help us in recruiting?
It helps the conference.
We're leaving this conference. We're leaving this conference.
All right, move on.
No, see, you're one of these old school guys that's like, rah, go ACC. The ACC's dying. It's on life support. Let it
go. Pull the plug.
Yeah, literally. You need to let it go. It's done. It's really done.
Yeah.
So that's my feeling on that. A last couple of notes I have that I brought up in news wise was one thing over here I thought was interesting. Oh, remember we had our friend over at the what's his name? We had him on Jason Stahl. Remember Jason?
Yeah, Jason Stahl with the Players Association.
Exactly.
Trying to establish the College Players Association.
So I don't know if you saw the article about Penn State this week.
No, I didn't.
So they're looking. They rebranded their NIL collective into We Are NIL, and they're going to be looking to offer player disability insurance. So they're looking now to raise about $10 million to be able to offer this like lifetime insurance plan for like debilitative injuries to like the top players on the team, essentially. So honestly, I would love to get Jason's. We weren't able to, because I just saw this today, and it just broke yesterday. It just broke yesterday. But I would like to get his input of like, does he think this is a good step in the right direction? Obviously, this doesn't cover every player on the team. They need to, they're looking to, they have to raise $10 million, and this is one of the first schools to do this. So, every man on the roster, if the last kid on the offensive line, third string, gets hurt, he's not going to have access to this, right? This is going to be just for the top players. Right now, they have like one offensive lineman who's been able to get insurance based on this, right? And most athletes who try to get like this type of insurance anyway today can't, because they have to prove out their lifetime ROI and lifetime earnings, and they can't do that. So this is kind of a college's first approach to doing it. I thought it was interesting based on our conversation with Jason, the Players Alliance, and their thoughts around unionization across the NCAA. So,
well, Alonzo was our guest on the show and informed us a lot about this, trying to form a Players Association.
Yeah.
And you're starting to see that even I saw an article about minor league baseball players. I thought they were already in Major League Players Association. Apparently they're not, because they're not at the major league level. So you're starting to see
nothing.
more organization of these types of associations. So it might be worth it we get Jason or Alonzo back on to discuss this a little bit further.
Yeah, I thought this was very interesting. So definitely something to keep an eye on, because I do think it's an interesting, once again, another recruiting benefit. Say you're going after a top 200 guy and say, hey, if you come to us, you're not only going to get education, spot, but also if you get hurt here, you're going to be taking care of
offer you an insurance policy.
Yeah,
this isn't the first time a kid has ever had an insurance policy.
I mean,
it's not illegal even back in the day to have one.
Privately, it's hard because you have to prove out you're going to be a top 10 pick. You're going to make all this money. Like, it's hard to get those plans. But like you said, this is an easier way to do it. And then the last thing, I think that's the last big thing.
No, I got one last piece. One last piece real quick. Hats off and welcome to the Knowles family to Keziah Holmes, a transfer from Penn State. Went into the portal, has arrived at Florida State. He's now officially on the team. He cannot play this year, and he is rehabbing from some injuries, but he transferred in on the 15th of August. He has 3 years of eligibility to play, and he joins a crowded running back room. Now, that is my only thought, is why would he select Florida State, who seems to be heavy into the running back room already? I don't really have the answer to that. Obviously, he does. He's been described, he was a 4-star coming out of Cocoa, Florida. I always call it Cocoa Beach, but they said Cocoa, Florida, Cocoa High School. 4-star, high-end, long speed, explosive around the edge. Freshman, he had like 51 carries for 227 yards. So he's been through a college program, a good one at Penn State, and Coach Franklin there. He had a couple of touchdowns. Good
player, a lot of potential. 4-star,
a lot of upside potential.
Yeah,
the question is, why did he come in here to compete? He must feel he can compete here.
Yeah, like you said, it's an interesting move because it was just buried on Penn State's depth chart, which is why he was looking to leave. He comes to Florida State. A lot of people are thinking because he wanted to be closer to home.
Well,
and Florida State, he played at Titusville. and Florida State was one of his original top 7 schools. Didn't win the first time, and now I think he
was heavily recruited by another coaching staff, probably.
True, but that doesn't mean you don't start.
No, I get it.
But
I get it.
I think playing closer to home, he transferred so late. I think he kind of knew he wasn't going to win the job anyway. So, and with Norvell's ability, Norvell does use a variety of backs in many different ways. You're seeing it already. He's using 3 different backs. So if you have something to offer, and you have the talent, and you work your butt off, you're probably going to be able to you're going to work your way into the lineup some way. So I think he took the approach of, okay, I'm going to transfer late, get into the program, be closer to home, work my butt off, basically sit out this year, and then see if I can crack. Come in fresh.
The spring ball.
Maybe someone transfers out. Maybe Benson has a killer year. Yeah, he's draft eligible. So him and Ward are draft eligible. So if they wanted to go, they could leave. And if it works out, it works out. I think that's kind of what was maybe going through.
Well, welcome to him, and we wish you all the best. And we look forward to talking about you more on the program in that regard.
Absolutely. So I think that's going to wrap it up. It's been a long show, but it's been a great show. We want to thank thanks again to Devin Spencer from Louisville. They're give us the on-campus perspective on everything that's going on around the program and their predictions for this weekend.
And we hope you guys support these guys. Yeah. They're really enthusiastic guys. They're really in touch with the University of Louisville program in football and all their sports there. So big shout out to them, and we wish them the best of luck. And they're always welcome back here. And maybe we'll see them Friday night if they call in.
Yeah, absolutely. We would love Devin and Spencer, if you hear this, we would love to have you guys on to the show.
We'll really be drinking then.
For a post-game reaction, win or lose. We'll be having it. So join us if you'd like. We'll send you a link. But thanks again, y'all, for the time. And thanks again, everyone, if you joined us. Like the video, give us a thumbs up, give us a comment. Really helps us with growing the channel. But we appreciate you guys being part of the Seminoles Sideline family. And then subscribe to us on your podcast choice and listen to us anytime.
Hey, we got a new intern working our Instagram.
Yeah, we're going to try to improve our Instagram game. So follow us there as well. All right, thanks again, and we'll see you guys Friday night. Take care.
Okay, bye-bye, guys. Bye-bye.